So setting it up. How are you guys on Living Word?
Can be. I think I was looking it up.
Oh, here, I get it.
All right. Hey guys.
Hey,
Um, yeah, with Lee and Amy Mercer here, and just our first installment of Kingdom Chats has been something I've been wanting to do for some time now. Um, and just to have interviews, just to talking with people that have kingdom values and kingdom purpose in their life, and just we all come from different walks of life, different experiences and backgrounds. But the awesome thing is just the transformation of Jesus, His love, and just how He just does so much in us. So thanks, Lee and Amy, for being here with us. I see you guys are at your home in your studio. So
yep.
just tell us a little bit about you guys and what you're passionate about, and what are you guys up to? What do you do?
Okay.
Go ahead, Ames. You go
All right,
first.
I'll jump in. First, we have our matching Valentine's Day coffee mugs. I thought I should have the cool one, but it didn't work out that
I'm the
So
cool
which
one.
one's the cool one?
Me.
Okay.
way.
She's the hot one though. So I mean,
Yeah, so here we are in our home. We used to say that we had a recording studio in our home. Now I say that we live in our recording studio because it's kind of taken over all of our living space. But I'll just start by saying, uh, passionate about Jesus, first of all.
Yeah.
But through the years, he's given us opportunities to expand and use our passions and our giftings and in the area of music for one,
mm-hmm.
writing, and just creativity. For years we've also been involved in local church ministry quite extensively, but we feel like we're in a season now of sort of developing outside the four walls of the church as well, and just bringing in people and helping to raise up others in their giftings.
People who've not been able to get their uh, way, find their way. We kind of help them and guide them to find their way in this arena of entertainment and also just worship and music and different areas, that have to do with the creative arts. So we just kind of get behind them and push them a little bit and say, all right, don't give up. It's time. It's going to be all right. Just, push them forward. So that's kind of where we've been for the past, oh man, how long? We've been married 20 years, married in 99.
Now we're going back.
Wow.
Now we're
And
really doing it. We're
Yeah.
yeah, so we're going into our 21st year of marriage, and so I think it all started when we were on the on out on the roll. We would just every Saturday we would go and minister to people, and we do adopt a block kind of things, and we'd go to people's houses and do their dishes, and we'd mow their grass, and I mean, there were times that we had icicles hanging off our hair because we were die hard, burn out for Jesus, and go for it,
so
Uh,
on that real quick, just to say, you guys, like, you made it sound so simple. Yeah, we do this, but the truth is, you guys, and you just spoke to that fact of, you guys have been involved doing, like, you guys are always active. Like, I hear you guys' names all over the city, and like, yeah, Lee and Amy were over here, and Mercer Production was over here, and One Strum recording labels over here, and doing all this stuff. And you guys, you do so much in the kingdom, and just even in just really raising up sons and daughters and having a
yeah,
heart for that, like spiritual sons and daughters, equipping saints for the work of the ministry and training. You mentioned it too, for people that don't even see, maybe they can't acknowledge, or they haven't seen that gift of creativity or knowing what to do with it, that you guys come alongside and partner with them and speak value into that,
yeah,
and even providing a place for them to grow in that area. And so you guys, I mean, for you guys that don't know Lee and Amy, they're always active, always have people in their home, always giving away Jesus, and I so appreciate that about you guys.
yeah,
Well, on that note, I'd like to say, we're thankful for those who've done the same for us.
yeah,
We've had, you know, part of our walk has been that we've had the opportunity to uh, be under leadership with people who were just passionate about the presence of God.
right,
And because of their prayer and because of their seeking the Lord, we were able to experience transformation in our lives. You know, it wasn't just talking of the gospel; it was demonstration
Yeah.
Right.
of the
Yeah.
gospel. And we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be
Absolutely.
who we are had it not been for those people who paved the way through prayer, through teaching us about worship and how, you know, getting into the presence of God is so important, and
Yeah.
how the Holy Spirit can change, you know, can do something in an instant, something that would
Absolutely.
take 20 years in our own strength. And so that's part of our story. We've experienced his transformation just because of his glory and his
So good.
presence.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys do that really well. And I love what you said, Amy, about demonstration, because that becomes infectious. When you
Absolutely.
see people actually doing this stuff, and you see the power of Jesus and the presence of Jesus on that, and it's like you don't want to do anything else. You don't want to live for anything else.
Right.
And the thing that's cool is you guys are now reciprocating. You guys are actually doing that yourselves and giving away this demonstration. I love that.
Yeah. And you know, I think that the biggest part that has changed us is having spiritual fathers and mothers who have been over us, like Amy was saying, and the opportunities the doors that have been opened up. You know, One Strum. It was when I was 16 years old and I was lying in bed and the Lord spoke to me at midnight. I remember looking at the clock. It was 12 o'clock at night, and He said, "From one strum of the guitar, conviction will fall, and many will come to the Lord." And I said, all right, I get that. That's cool, you know. And I was like, this is, you know, what now, Lord? And then I ended up I don't know how I did it, but I don't know what the process by me getting there was. But I was in a women's meeting in Mississippi, and I don't know how I got there. Don't know why I was there. But this lady with a finger, it seemed like her finger was like that, you know, that long, you know, and she pointed it at me and she said, "From one strum of the guitar, conviction will fall and many will come to the Lord." And when I picked myself up off the floor, I was, you know, changed. There was something, a fire that started really burning inside of me. And so I came, make a long story short, we ended up in, here in Cleveland. The Lord called us here and said, basically, he said, "I want you to move to Cleveland." I was like, "Ohio?" You know, and I had no idea where Cleveland was. I may have heard it subconsciously, somebody talking about, maybe, I don't know. But I knew the Lord wanted us to come here, and I said, "Lord, I am tied to this place called Muhlenberg County. I have a heart for Muhlenberg County. I have a heart for the people here. If you want me to move, then you're going to have to tell my wife. And also, Lord, I want the church to move with me. I want the pastor to go with me." And I literally said that. And before I knew it, our whole church had moved down here with how many people?
Probably about 30. And this was
Wow.
from Kentucky, by the way,
From
if you don't know
Kentucky.
where
That's
Muhlenberg
crazy.
Muhlenberg
County is.
County. And so we get down here, and God used a whole church to get us here. And now they're all gone. They're back in Kentucky and different places, but this is where God wanted us to be. And so we get here, and a pastor come up to me during service, and it's just very prophetic. He looks at me and he goes, "From one strum of the guitar, conviction will fall, and many will come to the Lord." Man, 3, right? And so that's how it all started. And then I ended up on stage at J-Fest, and somehow I got to play in front of thousands of people, and that was really cool. It was in 2007, and I got invited to play guitar on stage with other musicians, and I look out, and there was my vision. That was the vision that God had given me. And I said, "All right, God, is this it? Is this it? Is this what you wanted?" And He says, "No, this is just the beginning." He said, "I want you to take over the music industry." I say, Sarah laugh, you know. And then I start getting calls from Atlanta, Nashville, and all of these places wanting me to produce them, wanting me to record them. And I started working with people who are well known. I'm not going to say their names because I don't like name dropping and doing all that stuff. But I was like, "Lord, I'm not qualified for this. I don't know I'm faking this, man. I'm
Aren't we all
faking
though?
this. Yeah,
To
really.
some extent, we all
And
are.
so I had to change. People say fake it till you make it. I have changed that to faith it till you make it. And I don't know if y'all have heard that before or not, but I felt like that was an original thing for me. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So One Strong, the vision moving forward, what are you guys doing? What's the where you position yourselves? Where are you saying God is saying like, hey, this is what I want you to do now? How are you? How are you? What's the word I'm looking for? Adding to that, to the vision, and to where are you guys heading?
Well, part of that is just bringing in others to
Mm-hmm.
record and release music, release the sounds of heaven. So, we've been trying to solidify the vision. And part of that is, I believe that releasing the sounds of heaven, releasing creativity. There's so much diversity in the world. Look around at trees and flowers, anything that God has created. There's not one cookie cutter definition of how things should be. And so, music that we might call Christian shouldn't all sound the same. So we want to release those unique sounds.
Mm-hmm.
We want to release the presence of God. And one of the things I think that I had to work out in my own heart was, we are involved in a lot of community activities. The Apple Festival for one, and for a while I thought, we've experienced so many things where it's the tangible presence of God, and yet sometimes I feel like we're focusing our energy on things that don't seem so spiritual. But the Lord has had to teach me that, wherever you go, you're carrying my presence. And even those things that might not seem so spiritual, anything that's bringing community together, anything that's giving God glory is pushes back the kingdom of darkness for one, and it brings transformation. And then another part of that is, learning that the end product is not always the most important thing. The process is important.
That's really
So,
good.
we've been able to, of course, work with you guys, with Evan and Adrian, and the music that you guys are making,
Which is
and
awesome, by the way, and
yes, yes,
on the
yes. Go
internet,
listen to
Spotify,
Winter. It's
all
fantastic.
over wherever streaming is available, and we need to support that. By the way,
Yes,
anyway, little
absolutely.
plug.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the plug, guys.
Yeah,
But again, that process of just being able to work together, and uh, Lee can speak more to the vision. He's always been a great visionary, and I think a lot of it we're still working out. It's walking in faith.
I think that's where we, as a couple, we're very similar in many ways, but very different in other ways. And the thing that God has blessed us with in our relationship is it's very very honest. We're very honest with each other, and that I understand my weakness. I have a long-term see the finish line. After it's all said and done, I see the vision. She has the process. She understands the process. She's a little bit better at the process than I am. I know that things have to happen in stages. I understand that, but whenever I take my mind off the finish line, I get depressed because I know that I need to focus on what God is doing, but I also need to learn how to enjoy the process, enjoy the time that I get to spend with people. Don't get impatient when things don't go exactly how I want them to, like being confined to my house for 40 days. So, hey, 40 days. Look at that. We're going to.
Yeah, I think the 40 stands for like a time of testing, wilderness, refinement. So
Absolutely.
maybe some of us are and so maybe some of us are experiencing that. But hey, we've got about, I don't know, we've got a few more minutes here.
Yeah.
But just one, thanks for coming on. But I want to hear a little bit. You guys have always been saved. You guys grew up in, just really Christian homes and no problems and all that.
Always did everything right.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
did everything right. Just
Mhm.
so maybe just speak. I mean, I wish we had a lot of time, but just speak a little bit. Give people a hope of just the transformation that God's done in y'all's life.
You want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I grew up, And Mother, I love you. I love you, Mom. 100%. Mom, if you're watching this, I love you. Um, she's awesome. My mother is fantastic. Seen a lot of things. But I was raised. I've been deemed legally independent since date of birth because I didn't have a real legal guardian. My grandmother raised me, and she did the best she could, did really well. My grandfather was awesome. My grandmother was awesome, but we were tied up in some illegal things, and from those, I didn't know right from wrong for a long time. I thought right was wrong, and wrong was right. So if I saw something that somebody left laying out and they weren't taking care of it, I'd just take it and say they don't deserve it. It was like that. Sometimes I would break into cars and just sit there just because I could. Because I was like 10 when I was breaking into cars, but so I had a lot of stuff. Thought I was gay. Felt gay. I was attracted to both men and women, and so I dealt with that. I dealt with all kinds of sexually immoral things, from pornography to, whatever. But God took me and changed me through His presence in a revival that happened in the late '90s, and just wrecked me. Once you see His face, once you seek God with all your heart, soul, and mind, you're never the same once He touches you. And that's my story in a nutshell. Is I was way out there. I never did drugs. I did drink. I started drinking when I was 3. Not for fun, but just, I don't know.
I always say, why did you wait so late?
I've got pictures of me holding a Budweiser, and so I grew up drinking. I grew up in a bootlegger house, and grew up with marijuana and lesbians and everything around me, and here I am. God delivered me, and now I'm a minister to those who are hurting, and I love people. I really love people. I honestly can say I love people. I had a student come over to the house the other night at like 10 o'clock so I could fix her computer. I love people. I love to help. I'm that kid that's on everybody's nerves that says, "Let me help, let me help, let me help, let me help, let me help." Hey, teacher. I'm that guy. But anyway, that's me in a nutshell. And
So good. Yeah, Amy.
And I had some of the same similar struggles, and didn't come to know the Lord until my late 20s. And so, I went through years of addiction. I was always the kind of kid who was the overachiever. But at around 14 years of age, when I discovered alcohol could take away a lot of my insecurities, a lot of my pain, a lot of my fears and anxiety, that set me on a really downward spiral, to the point where, in college, I was in and out of psychiatric hospitals, in and out of rehab. I never would have dreamed that, by the age of 21, I would not be able to get up out of bed and go to class or go to work, whatever I had to do, without taking a drink. And so, there was a point that I just shook myself and said, how in the world did I end up in this place? And it was just, it was just the power of addiction. And like Lee, there was the struggle with sexuality. From the time I was 8 years old, feeling, attracted to the same sex, and finally giving into that, in the college years. I lived in a very liberal city where it was very encouraged. And so, but all those things that I thought would bring fulfillment just brought emptiness. And so I think what was at the root of all of it, because it doesn't matter what the struggle is, the root of all of it is God real? Can he and does he want a real relationship with me? And does he have the power and the love that can bring transformation? And so that's why we're so passionate about sharing the power of God and his amazing love, because, long story short, I ended up in a women's meeting, like a prayer meeting. I knew nothing about, the Bible, really. I didn't really know the Word of God.
Something about women's meetings.
Yeah. And I didn't know really worship as far as, bringing in the presence of God. But long story short, I ended up in a meeting that was taking place in a courthouse. So God has always worked in my life, like outside, in very unconventional ways. And so I just experienced instant deliverance and healing through that movie,
Wow.
through that move of God. So much of my healing has come gradually. We're always, in a continual process of
Real quick,
growing.
tell a small bit about the deliverance that you had, the process
Well,
at that moment.
through worship, I was in this meeting, and I didn't know anyone there. The woman who invited me didn't even show up till the end. So everyone stands and begins to raise their hands. That was something that I wasn't familiar with, but they did it, so I did it, and suddenly I just felt like electricity going through my
Wow.
hands, and because of all the witchcraft and the darkness I was involved in, it was a demonic spirit inside me versus the power and presence of God, and I can just remember like not being afraid, but being like, wow, something is happening here. And I remember in the room, there were only about 10 or 15 women in there, but all of a sudden it sounded like a heavenly host of angels. I mean, I wouldn't have had terminology for it at the time. It was like, wow, it sounds like 1,000 people are in here singing. And suddenly it's just like my body's like contorting. But
Wow.
it was in that instance that Jesus was setting me free and delivering me. And I remember falling back into a chair and looking up, and this little woman who was not very big uh, was standing there, and she had come over to pray for me, and I knew she didn't have the power to push me backwards like 10 feet through the air, and it was the power of God. And just in that instance, because of the demonic activity in my life, I was also very physically ill. I mean, I was jaundiced. I looked terrible. In my mind, it's like I couldn't even think clear thoughts.
Wow.
And suddenly, it was like my mind was it was like something just came in and erased it. And I just felt peace come over me. All that pain had been just racking my body was gone. And it was just that moment, even though I didn't have the terminology for all of it, God walked me through it later to realize I was like the man in Mark chapter 5 who was, possessed of demons. But when Jesus stepped on the scene, it says when Jesus got out of the boat, he ran and worshiped him. Because for a long time I thought, well, if I was in so much darkness, how was it that my heart was open to Jesus? But then God showed me in Scripture, because when that man who was possessed of many demons saw Jesus step out of the boat, he ran and worshiped him. So it was the power of Jesus was greater than the power of darkness, and
Well,
so
so
my
good.
life was transformed.
So since we're already there, Amy, tell us really quickly. You've written a book about your testimony.
I have.
What's that book called? Where can
It's
they get it?
yeah,
She just sold out.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but more are coming.
Yeah.
We've got more coming. And ebooks are available too. So it's Losing My Religion, The Story of My Life. And that's available on Amazon. So you can get it in print format as well as the ebook. And the ebook's an easy way to download and
Ebook's always available.
read it right there. Absolutely.
Physical copy, we got to get some more. So
And also tell me this, Lee. You recently released an album, right? Music album.
yeah, because story of my life, and it's really, I've got a story, is what it is, and it's just narrative songs that talk about life, and there's some. What I love to do in producing music is I like to produce music that has the essence of Christ in it, not necessarily having to come into people's face, because people are not receptive anymore to you got to get saved and Jesus is the way and I'm out here. They don't, if you're up in their face with that, they're
Yeah.
going to run from you unless they're really desperate. Then they're like, yes, please, but I try, the Lord has really laid on our hearts that he needs more secret agents, people in the background, people who can come in subtly and win the lost through relationship.
Love it.
So
It's so good. Well, hey, I really appreciate you guys coming on.
We
And
appreciate you.
thank you.
yeah, we love
And
you
Adrian.
guys. And, yeah, Adrian, she's taking care of the kids there and keeping the noise level slightly minimal.
Well,
But
we love
we
it.
love you guys and love that we're on this journey together, and
Yeah.
just amazing testimony of God's faithfulness, transformation. You guys weren't even looking for Jesus, but he was looking for you,
Yes.
and he found you and he transformed you. And I love your family. You would never know. I was telling you guys this early. You would never know that you guys ever had any past of any hardship or whatever by just knowing you guys, because you have such a loving, close knit family. But it's just the power of Jesus and his love. So thanks for
Well,
coming
just
on.
Good.
What?
keep an eye out for a new book. She's working on it right now. and it's the story of my life. So it's going to be comical, um, and almost unbelievable. So anyway,
He's got some unbelievable stories
few names have been changed to save my life.
to protect the guilty.
Yeah, to protect the guilty.
Just a little bit that you told us, it doesn't really take a lot of imagination that we can picture. This book is going to have a lot of content. It's going to be fun. So
Yeah.
love you guys. Have
Love
a great
you.
day.
Bye.
Talk to
All
you
right,
guys
bye-bye.
later. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Yep. Bye bye.